This podcast is sponsored by Lamprobe. Lamprobe is a popular aesthetic tool that enables skincare practitioners to rapidly treat a wide variety of common minor skin irregularities, or MSI. Red MSI treated by Lamprobe include dilated capillaries and cherry angiomas, yellow MSI, cholesterol deposits and sebaceous hyperplasia, and brown MSI treated include skin tags and more. Lamprobe MSI treatments are non-invasive and deliver immediate results. Lamprobe can empower your skin practice with these new and highly in-demand services. For more information, visit lamprobe.com. That's LAMPROBE.com. And follow Lamprobe on social media at Lamprobe.
Welcome, everybody, to ASCP and the Rogue Pharmacist, Benjamin Knight Fuchs. I'm Tracy Donnelly, Executive Director of ASCP, and joining me today and co-hosting is Maggie Staszcuk, our very own Education Manager. Hi, Maggie.
Hey, Tracy.
Well, Maggie, today we're going to be discussing colloidal oatmeal. Is it really all it's cracked up to be? That's what we're going to find out. And to be honest, my only experience with it was when I was a small child and my mom would sprinkle some Quaker oats into my bathtub when I had poison ivy or chiggers or chicken pox. So I guess I just assume it was used to soothe and reduce itching. So I don't know. Maggie, how about you?
Same. Yeah,
really?
I had the oatmeal bath with the chicken pox and...
Well, I think it's, at this point, let's turn it over to the expert so we're not talking about Quaker oats the whole day.
Tried and true. It's a pharmacy treatment.
It is?
Yeah, and the pharmacy we learn about. In the pharmacy, we have it as a powder. Some pharmacy. In my pharmacy, we do. And also, we learn about it in pharmacy school. Colloidal oatmeal is an incredibly soothing. Actually, it's active in a lot of ways. It has sun protective properties if it's used topically. It has molecules in them that are soap-like molecules that you can use to cleanse the skin. And it's got some really incredible soothing ingredients, including the one we talked about earlier, beta-cytosterol. It also has an ingredient in there that is one of nature's most important collagen builders and connective tissue building substances called beta-glucan. You may have heard of beta-glucan. It helps stimulate the production of connective tissue. And also for lowering blood cholesterol. Do you remember Cheerios got the news?
Huge Honey Nut Cheerios. Right. I was like just down in that stuff.
That's because of the oats in there. Not that that's a good food, by the way, but
it
does have oats, and the oats do lower cholesterol because of the beta-glucan content. So colloidal oatmeal is a phenomenally valuable topical product. When I'm formulating soothing products like post-peel products, I always use colloidal oatmeal.
You are blowing my mind. It sounds like who knew that was in that little grain?
Yes, but here's the thing about colloidal oatmeal. If you really want to get its activity, like in a bath or something, you want to grind it up, because colloids, they don't dissolve in water. They suspend in water. They hang in water. And to really get the good activity out of the colloidal oatmeal, you want to put it in a coffee grinder or NutriBullet or something like that and kind of ground it into a powder. That being said, you can add it to your favorite skincare products. You can use it straight in the bath. You can use it just on its own as an exfoliator or as a topical soothing product. You can use it orally. It has cardiovascular health benefits. It's just phenomenally important. Although there are molecules in there that are, they call them storage proteins. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term. Gluten is a classic example of a storage protein. And these storage proteins are found in grains, and they're found in seeds and beans. And they're designed by nature to hold on to atoms, atomic material, nitrogen and sulfur and such, that the plant or the seed will need once it turns into a plant, once it grows. But those storage proteins can be problematic, and they can cause allergic reactions. They can cause inflammation at the level of the gut. Most people know about gluten. But what they don't realize is that oats have their own version of gluten, and a lot of plants have their own version of gluten. So sometimes you'll see, gluten-free, but you're not out of the woods.
Drop the mic, people.
Right?
Listen to that.
Just because something says gluten-free doesn't mean it doesn't have these storage proteins, these seed storage proteins that can wreak havoc on the digestive system. And I run into a lot of folks who have classic manifestations, skin manifestations of gluten intolerance, such as rashes. Those are very common. There's a condition called herpetiformis dermatitis. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
No, what does it look like?
It looks like a herpes sore.
Ooh,
It's
on your arm or where?
On
Anywhere?
your body, yeah,
Anywhere.
on your arms usually,
Ooh.
or on your torso sometimes.
Poor people.
And that's a classic sign of gluten allergy. So sometimes people will say, oh, I have gluten intolerance and I can't use gluten and I'm still breaking out or I still have rashes. I said, what are you eating? Well, I do lots of oats, but oats are gluten-free. Well, it doesn't matter. They have storage proteins. Beans also have storage proteins. Beans are gluten-free, but they still have molecules in them that can cause reactivity.
How about chickpeas?
Chickpeas are notoriously problematic. Yes, I'm sorry.
Gosh, I cannot
Do you like
win.
chickpea?
Well,
No,
I've been
not
trying to do
everybody.
like chickpea pasta and
Well,
stuff like that.
a couple things about that. First of all, not everybody's going to have a problem.
Okay.
Second of all, if you ferment or you sprout, you can deactivate or you can open up these seed storage proteins. For example, these seed storage proteins protect the molecules so that when the seed grows, they'll be there available. So by sprouting the seed, by putting water on the seed, you'll open things up and the seed storage protein will then open up and you won't have any more gluten or you won't have any more storage protein. So sprinkling water on your grains and letting them sprout for a little bit is a great strategy. Nuts. Have you ever done sprouted nuts? That's another thing people do.
No, but I'm thinking about sprouted bread. I mean, that's like a big, huge thing.
Yeah,
Is that real? So that's good?
Yeah,
it's better?
Totally, well, think about it this way. A seed is a life in potential, right? It's a stored life. And nature is very, very protective of its seeds because that's where life comes from. So it coats its seeds with a hard shell. And then it keeps all the good stuff all the life-giving molecules inside a seed in a protected form, either wrapped up in it with the seed storage proteins that we just talked about, or in an inhibited form. There's molecules called enzyme inhibitors, for example, in seeds that will suppress the activity of the enzymes so that the seed will stay dormant. So it will stay asleep. Have you ever heard, did your mom ever tell you not to eat apple seeds or not to eat watermelon?
Of course.
That's the whole thinking is that apple seeds and watermelon seeds contain...
There was a reason behind that?
Yes, there's logic to it.
My
Exactly,
gosh.
because they're anti-life in the sense that all the life-giving properties of a seed are stashed away.
And you can't get to them.
You can't get to them. And there's chemicals in there that are designed to suppress them, enzyme inhibitors.
Yes.
So when you eat those, you're going to get those enzyme inhibitors. By the way, that's why some seeds have anti-cancer properties. You may have heard of Laetrile or almond seeds. Yes, that's the whole logic behind the anti-cancer properties of some of these seeds because these enzyme inhibitors will suppress the activity of cancer cells too. So the way you get around this problem with the seeds is you bring them to life. You release sprout them. So while a seed can be very problematic, a sprout is the most perfect food there is.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so funny when you come into my house next time. You're going to see just like tons of sprouts all over my counter. So I'm going to sprout watermelon seeds. I'm going to sprout it all.
No, the sprouts are they're probably nature's most amazing. It's hard to say. Eggs are up there, algae's up there.
I was thinking about egg. It's almost the same concept of a seed in a way, right? You've got a hard shell.
Right.
It's all you need for life and supporting a cell.
An egg is not asleep.
Okay. Oh,
An egg is not asleep. An egg is being
Ben.
prepared, when the egg is hatched, it's ready to live. We take the egg out, but when the egg comes out of the hen or the chicken, it's not in a sleepy state. It's not in a dormant state. It's in a living state. So an egg is like a living seed, if you will. So it has all the things of a seed, all the raw material, but it's alive. And that's what makes an egg so powerful.
I love it. Right?
Yeah, and
That's
sprouts
so
also
good.
have another, I think we talked about chlorophyll. Didn't we talk about
Oh my gosh. And I have to tell you, ever since you talked about chlorophyll, I'm sure everyone listening to this now is hearing everybody talk about chlorophyll. I just listened to 3 podcasts and they used, it was like they listened to this podcast. I'm sure they did.
Okay. And did they say something about
They
chlorophyll?
said it.
It's
Yes.
amazing,
About
right?
how amazing. It's it looks exactly like
Isn't that amazing?
hemoglobin,
Yeah.
Except for it has a little different
good.
dot in the middle. I mean, I've told everyone that story.
I love that. I love that. So they're feeling the chlorophyll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So sprouts are a good source of chlorophyll, of course, too. Yeah.
See?
And then, I didn't say this about oats, but it just came to me.
Yeah.
Oats are also a good source of essential fatty acids, specifically omega-6
Really?
essential fatty acids, which is good and bad in the sense that you can get the benefits of essential fatty acids, but they can go rancid. They can break down. So you want to make sure that if you're using oats, the oats are somewhat fresh. I don't know if you ever smelt rancid oats, but they don't smell very good. And that is a sign of unstable fat. So you want to make sure your oats are fresh. And if you have them, you keep them in the refrigerator.
That actually brings up one more point that I was going to ask you, because we have had scenarios on the, in our whoopsie doozies or things gone wrong where, estheticians have ground up strawberries and decided to make a facial peel or what have you, and who knows where those strawberries are from. So I guess my question is like, if someone is going to take,
how do they keep it fresh?
If they're going to, if they're going to take oatmeal, does it matter if it's organic? What if it's Quaker oats? What if it's quick oats?
Excellent point. Excellent point.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's not okay.
Okay.
No,
okay. I'm glad I asked that. Because
no, you're right.
About doing
That's an excellent point. Most over-the-counter department store, drugstore, standard oat containing products, are you going to have oats that have been sprayed with pesticides?
GMOs.
And GMOs probably too. But the pesticides and the chemicals they give these grains are really problematic. So, and they're not on the ingredient tag.
Right.
So you're going to be exposing yourself to those. So I don't personally, with the exception of oats on a prescription and in some of my peel products, I don't really work with a lot of plant material for that reason, because plant material does have that downside to it. Now, you raised an interesting point about slicing strawberries and making products that way, and it's a great idea. And I encourage estheticians to do that. It's a great concept. But you got to have something to preserve it with. And
you got to know where it's from too. Like you have to really understand the source, how old it is.
Organic. Always organic. Sometimes people think that organic is not a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Plants that have been grown with pesticides have less nutritional value than an organic plant.
Taste them. You could tell.
You can taste it, right?
Yeah.
If a plant has a pesticide, it doesn't have to produce its medicinal compounds. It doesn't have to produce its natural pesticides. Its medicinal compounds, its natural pesticides are what we use to get better, to get healthier, to get stronger. And plants will have less of those if they're using if they're being grown with an antibiotic or grown with a fertilizer or pesticide. So plants that are organic tend to have more medicinal and nutritional value. Not to mention, as you say, Tracy, they taste a heck of a lot better. And that's because the plant, it's kind of like we talked about with exfoliation, the skin. If your body doesn't sense that it needs to produce something, it's not going to produce it. If a plant doesn't need to produce the tannins or the phytosterols or whatever it is that it's producing for its own purposes, it's not going to do it. And that's the problem with using pesticides and fertilizers on the plants. So organic wherever possible. If you want to preserve, keep it in the fridge. That'll give you some preservation value, not 100%. But lactic acid or citric acid from oranges will act as a preservative. But still, they're not great, and you want to use
lactic
fresh.
Acid. I had never heard of. That's milk, right? Basically,
well, it's not milk. No, it's not milk, but it's in milk. It's found in milk.
So I couldn't just pour some milk over some strawberries and go, that works for me.
That would not work.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't work at all.
I don't know. I'm just always looking for a hack.
No,
you know me.
I get it. Lactic acid is found, in your muscles.
Right.
In fact,
right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, we were talking earlier about this idea of protons stimulating things. That's why, you can get strong if you lift weights. But if you really want to get strong, feel the burn. That burn is the protons. That burn is the lactic acid telling your muscles, hey, get going. Let's do something. Lactic acid is so cool how the body is, because lactic acid is only produced when the body runs out of oxygen. Lactic acid is produced in what's called anaerobic. Have you heard of this term?
Yeah.
Anaerobic respiration. So when the muscles run out of oxygen, like if you're working out and if you ever worked out to the point where your muscles are starting to burn, what's happening is your body is now using an alternative non-oxygen based source of energy that produces lactic acid. So the body sees the lactic acid and says, oh, we better make bigger muscles, because apparently this person is using the muscles so much and they need it. They need it
to
now
survive.
They need a better ability to produce oxygen. So it's kind of like that's a hack. That's the ultimate.
Is a good hack.
That's the ultimate hack, is telling the body, hey, get going. We need you to work, man. We got stuff to do here. We got to get out of bed in the morning.
So when you have that lactic acid, usually I'm hoping we're not getting off track, but if it's usually like the next day really bad, that's trapped in your muscles. And is that in there because it does make you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't just lay in bed. It hurts so bad. I got to get moving and move it out.
That's the psychological aspect of it. I don't know if that's necessarily what's happening from a biochemistry point of view. But
you're the scientist.
No, but it could be from a psychological aspect. But from a biochemistry standpoint, that burn is protons. It's those little pieces of electricity that balance out the electrons, telling the cells, hey, we need you. Let's get going. It's kind of like, in fact, there's some people who actually say that lactic acid is a growth factor. It's typically a growth factor. And lactic acid is not that far off from glycolic acid. It's not that far off from malic and mandelic and all the other alpha hydroxy acids. So alpha hydroxy acids, when I think of, we were talking about this exercise metaphor, it's literally true.
Yeah.
Alpha hydroxy acids are the molecules of exercise.
To get it going.
Get it going. Get things moving.
Maggie, do you have any questions on this colloidal oatmeal? It feels so awkward. I'm just going to call it oatmeal.
Colloidal. Why is it
Colloidal.
Colloidal. Do you know what colloidal means? Albert Einstein, before he studied physics, studied colloids. And he did research on colloids in water because colloids do fascinating things. Colloids are substances that are dispersed in a liquid, in another substance. Do you ever hear me talk about raisin bread? The body's built like raisin bread.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I say that because I don't want to say what it really is because it's kind of easier to understand, but it really is a colloid. Raisin bread is a colloid.
Suspending it.
Yes. Stuff suspended in liquid. And when stuff is suspended in a medium, not liquid, but in a medium, when stuff is suspended in a medium, it doesn't dissolve. It's not integrated with the medium. It's discrete, but it's in the medium. It is part of it and it's not part of it at the same time. It has remarkable electrical properties. And so colloids are found everywhere in biology, everywhere. Your body is made of colloids, within colloids, within colloids, within colloids. Cells are colloids, tissues are colloids, muscles are colloids, plants are colloids. Everything is stuff dispersed in other stuff. When stuff is dispersed in other stuff, it has very interesting electrical properties. And you may have heard of colloidal minerals. Have you heard that term, colloidal minerals?
I actually
I've heard
haven't.
colloidal silver.
Colloidal silver. Okay, that's another good example. If you were to take silver ions, silver that has an electrical charge to it, and eat it, you kill you. But there's no toxic dose of colloidal silver. The colloidal nature of silver, the structural nature of the colloid renders it completely non-toxic. Colloidal iodine is the same way. Colloidal iodine is
it because it's suspended in it?
It's because it's surrounded.
Ah.
The silver ion is surrounded, and it is not just a silver ion, it's a colloidal silver ion. It doesn't just have the silver, it has the colloid and has less of an electrical charge to it. So plants have an ability to take minerals and turn them into colloidal substances. And this is why you can eat all the plant colloidal silver you want, or plant colloidal aluminum you want, or plant colloidal mercury, or plant colloidal anything, but because it's colloidal, it renders it completely non-toxic. That's in terms of minerals. In terms of colloidal oatmeal, what you're really talking about with colloidal oatmeal is oatmeal that doesn't dissolve, that hangs in the water, and thus it retains a lot of its biochemical activity. It creates a product or a formulation or a substance that has a lot of this soothing properties because it hasn't dissolved in the water. It still retains its mechanical effects. So you can use it mechanically to soothe the skin, which is why colloidal oatmeal is used and not other forms of oatmeal.
Now I get it. Okay, I'm going to start pronouncing colloidal the right way. Yes, it deserves it. It means something.
Are fascinating substances.
Yes.
Vitamin E is found in oats, and vitamin E has remarkable soothing and antioxidant properties. In fact, vitamin E is really interesting because vitamin E doesn't really participate in chemistry the way other vitamins do. It's a guardian. It protects things. So it acts to surround a cell, and when a bad guy comes to the cell, vitamin E neutralizes it. It's an antioxidant for the outside part of cells. And so irritation, redness, itching, all the things that happen with poison ivy or poison oak or any other reason why you would use colloidal oatmeal are a factor of destabilized skin cells. When a skin cell is destabilized, it releases factors, and that recruits histamine and other irritants and pro-itching compounds. Vitamin E from oatmeal or any other source acts to protect that cell membrane from assaultive agents. So vitamin E is another reason why colloidal oatmeal is such an effective anti-irritant.
Okay, so then question, I'm bringing it full circle from even our other podcast, but if you are maybe niacin deficient and you happen to get a rash from the sun, would you be able to then take high doses of vitamin E as well to soothe that and fix that and get rid of that?
Absolutely. In fact, high doses of vitamin E, here's a little hack for you.
Okay, I love the hack.
High doses of vitamin E. When I say high doses, I'm talking 1,200 IU a day. And keep in mind, the typical dose of vitamin E is about 400 IU a day, and even the recommended daily allowance is way less than that. So most people, if they're taking a vitamin E capsule, will take 200 or 400 IU a day. 1,200 IU a day, which is significantly more, and there's no toxicity associated with it, is incredible for healing burns and cuts and traumatized skin. If you ever get a severe burn or trauma, sunburn, anything severe, high doses of vitamin E taken for a week or 5 days or so, 1,200 IU a day or so, It's amazing how fast you'll heal with that.
Bring vitamin E on vacation. That's a hack.
Bring vitamin E. Now, vitamin's a little tricky. We don't have time to talk about it now, probably. But
okay, I'm putting it on the list.
Put it on the list.
I'm putting it on the list, everyone.
Tricky, but it's incredibly, incredibly valuable vitamin. In fact, vitamin E wasn't even known to be a vitamin until like the 1980s, I think, or the 1970s. It wasn't considered to be essential. It's the last of the vitamins. I'm pretty sure. I'm not wrong.
That's probably why it's E.
That's why I say, yeah. It's the last of the vitamins to be discovered, and it wasn't considered essential until relatively recently.
Interesting. Well, you guys, I promise everyone listening, we will have a vitamin E podcast. Cross my heart. Okay. Well, with that, everybody, that's going to wrap up our show. Is that cool? Let's wrap it up. And as always, if you're not an ASCP member, join today at ascpskincare.com. And if you like this episode, and how could you not? Super cool, super fun. Details from what we discussed and how to pronounce it will be in the show notes. Okay, so check that out. If you just can't get enough of Ben Fuchs, the Rogue Pharmacist, you can check him out at pharmacistben.com. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone. And get using that colloidal oatmeal. Boom.